I never expected Jean-Luc Picard to be Star Trek's first cosplayer captain, but it really happened. Jean-Luc Picard is the epitome of dignity. A Shakespeare-quoting philosopher, diplomat, strategist, and one of Starfleet's most respected officers, Captain Picard seems like the least likely person to engage in anything as whimsical as cosplay. But across Star Trek, The Next Generation, the TNG movies, and even Star Trek, Picard, Jean-Luc has proven himself to be Star Trek's most surprising cosplayer, and he might just be its best. It's not just that Picard wears costumes. No, it's that he commits to them. Fully. Whether he's undercover in a criminal syndicate, reliving the adventures of a hard-boiled detective, or embracing an ancient cultural ceremony, Jean-Luc becomes the character. And that's what cosplay is all about. It's not merely a change of outfit. It's an embrace of persona, history, and meaning. Let's go through some of his most iconic and unexpectedly cosplay-worthy moments and unpack how the most serious Starfleet captain of all time became Trek's first great cosplayer. Dixon Hill, Picard's private alter ego. The most famous instance of Picard indulging in a costume persona comes from his recurring role as 1940s Detective Dixon Hill. In multiple holodeck episodes, starting with The Big Goodbye TNG Season 1, Picard dons the fedora and trench coat to embody the classic noir gumshoe. This wasn't just some throwaway hobby. Picard clearly loved playing Hill. He immersed himself in the world of smoky offices, shady dames, and mobsters. He studied period slang and reveled in the differences between that world and his own. The level of detail he demanded from the holodeck programmers and the pride he took in introducing his crew and even an alien diplomat to the simulation proved that this was more than recreation. This was an escape, a tribute, and a passionate performance. It also revealed a side of Picard we rarely saw, playful, curious, and romantic about the past. The idea that this man, who commands a Galaxy-class starship, would spend his free time pretending to be a hard-drinking noir detective from Earth's 20th century is deeply endearing and extremely cosplay. Captain Galen and the Archaeologist's Disguise. In Gambit TNG Season 7, Picard goes undercover as a rogue mercenary named Galen. Here, we get a radically different kind of cosplay from the Dixon Hill stories. This isn't nostalgia. It's deception, but it's still performance. Stripped of his uniform and command, Picard has to embody a tough, no-nonsense treasure hunter to infiltrate a group of mercenaries hunting down ancient Vulcan artifacts. What makes this fascinating is that Jean-Luc doesn't just play the part, he molds it into something authentic. As a lifelong archaeologist and history buff, the role fits him, but it also lets him play against type. He's brusque. He's cynical. He even throws a punch. It's cosplay with a purpose, but it's still cosplay. Picard crafts a new identity, complete with backstory and attitude, and lives inside it long enough to fool enemies and friends alike. Robin Hood Picard, a medieval captain. One of the most gloriously silly episodes of TNG is Cupid Season 4, where Q sends the crew into a Robin Hood fantasy. Suddenly, Picard is transformed into Robin Hood, complete with green tights, a feathered cap, and a sword. And guess what? He hates it. Well, at first. Picard grumbles, complains, and insists he's not a merry man that's Worf, of course. But over the course of the episode, something shifts. When Vash, his lover and foil, is threatened, Picard steps up, not just as a captain, but as a legendary hero. He duels a corrupt nobleman with real skill, charisma, and flair. Underneath the theatrics, you can see Patrick Stewart's Shakespearean chops shining through. Stewart plays Robin Hood like he's in a stage production, which adds a layer of meta cosplay. It's Picard, played by Stewart, playing Robin Hood, each layer building into the next. And let's be honest, he rocked that outfit. Captain Picard Day, the unwilling mascot. Every year aboard the Enterprise D, the children of the ship celebrated Captain Picard Day, a lighthearted event complete with drawings, stories, and dolls made in Picard's likeness. At first glance, it's just a cute nod to how the kids look up to him. But when we really consider it, this may be Picard's most meta cosplay moment. The irony is that Picard is deeply uncomfortable with the event. He sees himself as a serious man, a model of discipline and order, not a mascot for kid-friendly heroism. But that's exactly what cosplay is, embodying an idealized version of someone, sometimes even yourself. Picard reluctantly plays along, attending the event, looking at the children's artwork, and trying to hide his discomfort. But his presence there shows a subtle form of cosplaying, becoming the version of himself that others see. He performs Picard the hero. It's performance art, and it's vulnerable. A fistful of datas, cowboy Picard in spirit. Although Picard doesn't take center stage in the Western-themed holodeck episode, A Fistful of Datas, he is certainly part of the atmosphere. Data, Worf, and Alexander take on roles in an Old West town, but Picard approves and encourages these adventures. In fact, throughout TNG, Picard consistently promotes the value of fiction, simulation, and creative play. He's a champion of imagination, even if he rarely gets the chance to be silly himself. But when he does, he goes all in. It's easy to imagine that Picard might have wanted to play the sheriff if duty hadn't called. Maybe on another day, he'd have been riding alongside Worf, quoting Shakespeare in a drawl. Theater kid energy, Picard's Shakespearean soul. What really cements Jean-Luc Picard as a cosplayer captain is his deep love of Shakespeare. He doesn't just read the bard, he performs him. On multiple occasions, Picard recites passages from Hamlet, Henry V, and other plays. He treats the text with reverence, but also with the soul of an actor. In the episode The Defector TNG Season 3, Picard and Data rehearse a scene from Henry V. Picard instructs Data not just on lines, but on presence. And when he himself takes the stage, even informally, he's not just quoting. He's becoming. You can almost see the theater curtain lifting in his mind. The distinction between quoting Shakespeare and embodying Shakespearean characters is crucial. When Picard delivers the "We Band of Brothers" speech or the musings of Prospero, it's not just literary indulgence. It's cosplay of the highest order, intellectual, emotional, and profoundly theatrical. Star Trek, Picard, and the cosplay of legacy. In Star Trek, Picard, especially in Seasons 2 and 3, we see an older Jean-Luc looking back on his life. Even here, the theme of persona persists. Whether he's donning a Starfleet uniform once more, hiding his identity as an android, or returning to the captain's chair, he's constantly stepping into new and old roles. In the alternate timelines and mirror realities explored in the series, we see multiple versions of Picard, each embodying a different facet of his character. It's like watching a one-man convention with different cosplay categories: evil Emperor Picard, retired Vineyard Picard, Romulan rescuing hero Picard. By embracing all these identities, Jean-Luc does what great cosplayers do. He reinvents himself without losing the core. He plays within the canon of his life, building on his mythos. In doing so, he doesn't just pay tribute to Starfleet or Earth history, he pays tribute to himself with humility and grace. Why Picard's cosplay matters. So why does any of this matter? Because cosplay is about connection. It's about stepping into the shoes of another to better understand them or ourselves. Jean-Luc Picard, the most commanding and philosophical of Starfleet captains, does this time and time again. Whether through fiction, undercover operations, or